This is the Creative Market Free Goods Roundup for the week of March 30th, 2015. As usual, there are 6 different free goods this week, but they are free this week only. So if you see anything you like, be sure to check out the description of this video where I will place links to each one of them. So first up here is 3D layers, which is a Photoshop action. So I have this action opened up in Photoshop, and as you can tell right here, this is a pretty detailed action. There's tons of possible steps, although it's not actually all that hard to use once you go in there and do it. So I built this example right here just to show you how to use this, and I actually won't be running the entire action because it takes a couple minutes, at least in my experience, to go through everything, and then when you do that, you'll end up with a file that looks something similar to this. But basically all that you have to do is once you load up that action, there's a few different options like top left, top right, or left, and that's where it's creating the 3D extrusions from. So just select your topmost layer, run step 1, and then it will appear to make basically a layer. It'll give you a message, and it won't appear to really have done too much, but once you run step 2, you'll really be able to see what it's starting to do. And when you're done with that, you just run step 3, and that's the last thing that you got to do. And once you do all that, it might take you a minute or two for this action to process. You'll end up with a file that looks similar to this. So each one of these different layers is its own element, and it's a different 3D element. So let's say on this pink square right here, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. If I were to run one of these other actions below the ones that say step 1, 2, or 3, so let's say I want to make this a little bit taller, I can just select increase extrusion 20 pixels, run the play button right here, and then it's going to very quickly go through all these steps. It actually might take a little while depending on how deep you choose to make the extrusion. It seems like the more complex your file is overall, the longer these actions will tend to take as they're doing them. I don't know what that error message is right there, but it's just going to finish up right here. And as you can tell, it increased the size of this extrusion by the 20 pixels that it said. So now if I want to, let's say on this blue one, make it a little bit smaller, you can do that as well. I'm going to go to decrease extrusion 10 pixels. I'm actually not sure if this is going to make it totally flat. Let's see what happens when I actually run it. I haven't tried this before. So there you go on this one, it ended up making it completely flat. But that's just a basic overview of what this thing does. It seems like this is really useful if you have like an app design that you want to extrude into 3D or something similar to that, where you're trying to explain how something works but you want to give it a little bit of depth. I did notice on the actual product page that you go to download this file, there's a really nice explanation and how-to video included. So if you have any further questions, be sure to watch that. It does a nice job of explaining how to actually use this action, and their examples look a little bit better than mine since I just made this very simple shape right here very quickly to show how this particular thing works. But if you think you might have use for this 3D action, be sure to pick it up this week while it's still free. Next up is flat infographics. These infographics are provided in both EPS as well as Illustrator file formats, so I have the Illustrator file opened right here, and this is a one-page pack of different infographic styles. And it's also worth noting that all this type is fully live, so if you want to change this up, it's totally easy to go in there and do that. It's using a font called Open Sans, which I'm pretty sure is a free font. If you don't have it, just Google Open Sans and you should be directed to a link where you can go ahead and get it. So this is a very simple flat style, but I think the execution looks pretty good, and there are a bunch of different things in here you can go ahead and use. So let's say you just want some icons like a person icon or a puzzle icon. You could go in here and just use those. You don't have to necessarily go in and use all these different pre-made layouts. There's also a pretty neat map of the world right here, done in a very digital style. And I'll just go to left here to check out the last few things. So there is a nice selection of different stuff to go in here and use, a bunch of different icons, as well as different ways of displaying information in terms of graphs. You might have to customize stuff a little bit to make sure that these work for you. So let's say you're not doing 58%, but you're doing something like 90%. So you might have to redraw these outer borders and stuff like that, little details to make sure these look good, at least on these circular ones. On something like this one right here that says 17%, this is getting in the way. You can just click on this and then drag it to be relatively approximate to whatever number you end up typing in the percentage bar. But a nice clean pack of vector infographics, so if you're looking to quickly put together a presentation or some information display online or in print, this might be a pretty handy thing to grab. Everything that's included here looks very consistent, so you could use all these different elements and kind of mix and match to make a custom layout if that's something you want to do. And I think it should turn out looking pretty good. So if you think these might come in handy, be sure to check out the link in the description of the video where you can go ahead and download this for free. Next up is 21 Rockin Robots. So when you download this file, there'll be 21 different EPS files, each one that will have its own unique robot on it. I just opened up 5 of them at random here to show inside Illustrator. So looking at these robots, they're really fun and very bright. I like the color choices on these, and the actual illustrations themselves I think are all very strong as well. So I'll just scroll through the available 5 robots that I selected at random here, and do remember there are 21 of these in total, so there are quite a few different robot designs for you to go in and use. So I think with a particular illustration style in these would work really well for like younger kids or any kind of project where you want to give give it a very fun, very bright feel. I think the illustration style is really well done. It's all very clean. It's a simple style, but it's super effective at communicating the idea of robots. And I think they all look very stylistically like they are part of a family. All these look like they were done by the same person. There's a very consistent feeling to the illustration style. So it's really nice to see that. And if you really want to go in here and customize these even more, you could, of course, just ungroup these different objects right here and then move off, like, let's say these eyeballs. And if you want to use this guy's eyeballs, let's see if this works. I'm not totally sure how this is going to look because I haven't done this before. But you can, of course, just go in here and kind of make your own custom robots using the elements of all the different robots that are provided if that's something you want to do. But a super cool pack of robots here. I really like the illustration style. And like I said before, they're very consistent and very cleanly done. So these look nice and professional. So if you've been looking for some robots in vector format, then this might be a great product for you to check out. And if you do like these, be sure to pick them up this week. Next up is Pixel, a multi-purpose HTML theme. So this is an HTML theme, and you are going to need at least basic levels of HTML knowledge to go in here and customize this. This doesn't use WordPress or a similar content management system, so you don't really have to worry about setting any of that up. If you just upload the files that are included in the download up to a server, this particular example website will be live, and then you can go ahead and customize them as you see fit. And right at the top here, there is a slider bar, so you can just slide back and forth through these different layouts right here. As you can tell, there are a bunch of different animations as you scroll through these different options. And this website does have a lot of different animations in it, so as I scroll through them, be sure to keep your eye out for those. And I should also note that this is a fully responsive website, so this should look good no matter what kind of device you're looking at it on. Right here is a set of projects, and you can go ahead and hit View All Works, which will bring you to a page that will show you all the different stuff right there. In this case, it isn't linked to anything, so it just brought me back up at the top of the page. If you keep on scrolling down here, there are different sections to display whatever it is you do. So if you're a business and you offer a bunch of different services, it's pretty easy to do that. There's an About Us section where you can go ahead and display your team members. If it's just you can put yourself there. And at the bottom here, there are some different sections where you can write some custom stuff about you or your business. There's a highlights section as well as a skills section. If you're using this for like a resume or something similar, this might come in pretty handy. There is something kind of weird going on though. If you look at the top of my screen right here on the right, there's some flickering that I think is an after effect of some of the animations that are going on up top. So that's just kind of a strange thing to keep your eye out on. If it's happening on your page, it might be a little bit distracting. A newsletter subscription button, which is always nice to have on there. All the social icons, terms of service, and privacy policy are linked at the very bottom. And then there's a spot to describe your business or yourself, as well as your address or contact info. I'm going to scroll back up to the top here so we can look at the menu. So I'm not going to go over absolutely everything here because there's a ton of pages included in this download. This is a super complete theme right here, but if I go up to the features and then go to, let's say, typography, it'll bring me to a page that displays all the different typography options that are available here. There's quite a few of them, so this is a pretty complete set, and it just goes through, as I continue scrolling down to the bottom here, all the different stuff that's available to use inside this theme. It looks super complete, and there's a ton of different options as I continue scrolling down here, as you can see, including some really nice features like drop caps that look really good in my opinion. And I'll just keep on scrolling down to the very bottom here, a bunch of different columns and layouts. I'm just going to hit this button in the lower right hand corner here to zoom back up to the top of the page, which I think is actually a very nice feature. Under pages, there's a ton of different included pages here, so if I click on contact, it'll bring me to that contact page with a nice name, email, and message form right here. If I go under elements, you can tell all the different elements that are included in here. So if I go to buttons, it'll display all the different button options. So like I said before, this theme really includes a ton of stuff. I can't go over absolutely everything, but I do recommend, if you like what you're seeing so far, to check out the product page, and then there's a live demo on Creative Market itself. So if you want to go in here and check out absolutely everything before you download this, that's certainly an option you can go ahead and do. So overall, I think this is a really impressive theme just because it's so huge. There's so many different options and elements to go in here and check out. I think it's handled extremely nicely, and I haven't run into any weird bugs except on that front home page where there was some flickering in the upper right hand corner there from the animations. I assume if you disable those animations, it might stop that, or it could just be my computer. It might be a local issue that you won't find yourself having, but it might be worth going in there and checking that out. But a super cool theme in my opinion. Like I said before, this is a massive theme, so if you're looking for a very robust theme that will likely keep you busy and very well supported for a long time, this is a great one to check out. Just be sure to pick it up this week while it's still free. Next up is Gluten, which is a font. This font is provided in both OpenType, TrueType, as well as web font formats, and I have it open inside Adobe Illustrator here to show it. So here's the font, and as you can see, the characters are very round and very large, but I actually think the legibility is pretty good throughout this font, even though these are pretty abstracted. So there are both lowercase as well as uppercase letters here to go ahead and use, and I'll just zoom in a little bit closer here so you can check out these letter forms up close. As you can see, they're all very smooth and very consistently done. There aren't any weird or jaggy points on these, so I think this is pretty well executed in terms of what they were going after, which is just a nice, large, and smooth font. And I'll just keep scrolling to the left here to go through the rest of the capital letters. And as you can tell here, it does include all the numbers, as well as a very nice selection of different special characters. So if I highlight over this and then go to type and then glyphs to check out all the different characters, you can tell there's a really huge selection of different special characters to pick from. I think if you're using a Latin-based language, you're probably going to be covered inside this set. It looks like they've included a bunch of different stuff. So it's always nice when you go in here and see that there's a bunch of different special characters. And then I went ahead and typed up free goods roundup so you can see how that looks actually typed out into a sentence. I think the stock kerning looks really good, as well as the stock spacing looks pretty reasonable. And as I said before, this looks very legible and very readable for a somewhat abstracted font. So I think this is a pretty cool idea for a font, and it's very nicely executed. Everything looks very consistent and very professionally done. So if you're looking for a font that's nice and big and super rounded and has a pretty unique character to it, this font might come in handy for you. And since it does include a web font as well, if you want to use this online, you can go ahead and do that very easily. But that's it for this font. If you think you'll have use for this, either now or in a future project, be sure to pick it up this week. And last up is Flavor Business Card. So this download includes 2 Photoshop files, one that's a landscape shown right here, as well as one in portrait mode shown right here. I'm just going to go over the landscape version of this product. So inside the download here, there are 2 different folders, one called front, which is shown right here, and then this one is the back, and they're very simple to go in and make customizations to. So inside the front folder, there's a text folder where there is this example text, so you can change this pretty easily if that's something you want to do, which I'm assuming if you use this, you will want to. This particular font is franchise regular, so I know that is a free font. If you go to Font Squirrel, you can go ahead and pick that up. And the background layer here looks like a vector smart object, so you can go ahead and either use this particular background, or you could put your own background in there. If you don't want to use this abstract geometric one, you can just drag and drop it inside this background folder right here, so it should be really easy to customize this if that's something you want to do. And here's the back of this business card. So I'm going to open up this folder, and inside there's a folder for the company name, which is in this case Flavor, so you can go ahead and customize that to be whatever it needs to be, as well as the name of the person, their title, and then web, mail, phone, as well as address. And just like before, you can go ahead and customize all these different elements. The type is live, so it's pretty easy to go ahead and do that. So if I want to change this to my name, I can do that really quickly. And this background, like the one before, is just a series of abstract geometric shapes. So if you don't like this background, feel free to go in there and customize it to be whatever it is you want it to be. And then I'll just very quickly go over the front and back of the portrait version. So here's the front of the portrait one, and here's the back of the portrait one. Pretty much the same thing, except this one's vertical, but a nice pack of customizable business card templates. And like I said before, feel free to customize all the type and then change out the background to be whatever it is you want it to be on yours. You could even just rasterize this background and hit Control U on a PC or Command U on a Mac and recolor this as you see fit. But this is a pretty simple and straightforward template, and if you think you'll have use for this, be sure to pick it up this week. So that's it for this week's free goods, and do remember they are free this week only, so be sure to check out the description of this video where you'll find links to each one of these 6 different items. And if you found this video helpful, please leave a comment and like and favorite, and if you want to see this video every week, please subscribe. This video is released every Monday to let you know it's free this week on Creative Market. Thanks for watching.